Hi there, I'm Stacy, the encaustic mixed media artist behind Studio Stacy. Encaustic literally means to burn in. So I paint with beeswax and a torch, and because it's mixed media, pretty much anything else I can get my hands on. If you're new around here, welcome. If you're a returning viewer, welcome back. Consider subscribing and joining this artsy community. Don't forget to hit that thumbs up button, which helps me get introduced to more like-minded artsy folks like yourself. Morning all in the studio, and I'm going to be prepping these two panels back there and I'm going to be prepping them with some encaustic medium and some white encaustic paint. And can you hear that bird out there? Fall has arrived here. It's a little chilly, so I have a long sleeve shirt on here. I'm thinking it's going to warm up later today, but at any rate, fall is definitely here and it is beautiful. And I have about, from the time that I'm filming this, about 2 weeks before the art show. And so I'm trying not to put too much pressure on myself to get these two panels done. I would like to, but I kind of wanted to talk a little bit about expectations, because I feel like as creatives, we put a lot of expectations on ourselves, whether it's to release new videos, if you're a YouTube creator, whether you're an artist, to paint so many paintings, so many finished paintings, or get in your sketchbook every day. You know, we have all these expectations that we put on ourselves, and I'm trying not to do that. So having said that, I don't know if I'm going to get these two panels done before the art show, and I'm going to say that that's okay. So I might not finish these panels in this video. I have no idea what it's going to look like. But I just thought I would kind of share that thought with you. I would love to have them done, but I'm not putting the pressure on myself to having to make sure they're done. We also have 1,000,010 other things going on, like everyone does. And I don't want to just try to get these done just to have them done, just to say I got them done. I want to try to get them done and work through them in a fun manner. And also when they're done, I want them to be really good finished paintings. So yeah, today's plan, is to get these prepped with some medium and some encaustic paint, and then white encaustic paint, and then that'll probably be it for today. I want to get both of them prepped, because my plan for these is a bit of perhaps maybe an abstract kind of painting with these two. I haven't done abstract in a long while, and I'm hoping to do that. And when I used to do more abstract paintings, when I did acrylic, I like to work on several paintings at once, several canvases at once. So I'm going to try this out with encaustic, working on two panels kind of back and forth at the same time. Anyways, that's the plan. So I'm going to get to prepping these, and yeah, we'll go from there. All right, I got 4 layers of the clear encaustic medium down on these, and then a layer of white paint. And this is all of the clear encaustic medium that I have left, and I think you can see that little spot right there on it. There's some paint on it, I think it looks like red-ish color paint. So I'm not going to put this into my clear encaustic medium bin, but it looks like I need to make some more. I don't know, I might have to make more before I continue on with these, but I thought I would flip the camera around and show you, because I wasn't real precious or concise about precise. I wasn't real precise, that's what I want to say, about how I put down the white paint on here. I kind of just slopped it down. It's probably hard to tell in that time lapse, but I just kind of slopped it down, and so it's a little bit uneven, a little bit more kind of wavy, if you will. I'll flip the camera on and show you, but and I did that specifically just because I felt like doing it. I didn't feel like being real precise today. I just wanted to slop some paint down, kind of just willy-nilly get this coat of white paint on, and I only put one coat on where I normally put 2 or 3 coats of the white paint. So yeah, it's just because that's how I felt like doing it today. And if you guys have been here for a little while, you know I tend to mix up different styles of paintings and mix up different techniques, and today I just felt like being a little bit more free and messy. I'm not sure how much the camera's picking up here, but I think you can tell it's a little bit blotchier. Let me try to zoom in on, yeah, I think you can kind of see there. It's not super textured, but it has a little bit of like more bumps and kind of waves to both of these panels. All right, the last thing I want to do in the studio today is, a while back I did a bunch of Gelli plate prints of some tree leaves with some oil paint, and those prints never really cured. I mentioned it, I don't know how many videos ago, several videos ago, that they weren't really curing. And one of you recommended maybe putting it in between pieces of newspaper or newsprint. So today I took a look in my large paper pad drawer and saw that I had some newsprint. So I thought, why not stick them in between there, and just happened to see if maybe that doesn't soak up the oil a little bit more and maybe help them cure. Who knows if it's going to work? I'll let you guys know if it does. So that's the last thing I want to do, and I'll probably lay some like heavy books down on top of this paper pad. I'm just going to do it on my floor, because, well, it's the only flat surface I have available in the studio at the moment. And I'm going to lay some heavy books down, and hopefully that will work. We'll see. But I want to either scan those in or take them to a copy store and make copies of them onto some different papers if those don't fully cure. And I may do that anyway. So we'll see. I'll let you know. Keep you posted. Alright, so that's it for today in the studio. I'm hoping to get back in here one other day this week and try to do a little bit more work on these panels. And if that happens, I will pick you up. We'll see you then. Just a few seconds for you. Morning all. I came over to the studio to gather up these Gelli plate prints from the newsprint that I kind of stuck them under. They didn't seem to cure any more there than what they were already cured. In other words, the paint ink is still kind of rubbing off on a paper towel. And I'm nervous about just trying to completely embed them into the wax while the paint is still rubbing off, meaning the paint is not fully cured. So I'm nervous that it won't ever cure and could cause problems down the road with the painting. And as my plan is, these would be kind of some initial layers in these particular paintings, that I don't want those initial layers to never cure and then cause problems with the other layers. So this morning I took the time and I called a local copy place here that I know does work with artists and things like that, and I asked them specifically about printing onto the Japanese washi paper, a thinner paper, because the downside to the printer that I have here is that it's not a larger format, and I would like to be able to print on like 11 by 17 or so with these. And I had explained to them that when I use my printer, I have to put a carrier page on so that the thin paper goes through. And she didn't think that that was possible for them to do on the thin paper because of how their printers work. It's a heated process, and I'm not a printer by any stretch of the imagination, obviously. So I have no idea how they work. But at any rate, I don't think that's going to work, but I still want to take these prints and scan them into the computer, and then I don't know what my next step is. I have a couple ideas rolling around in my head now that these initial ideas probably aren't going to work. So, but before I completely ruin these prints by trying to alter them in any way, I'm going to scan them in the computer so that I have them in there. So that's today's plan. Very exciting, scanning images into the computer. Morning all. Hopefully you will have already seen a couple videos and images of our forest and area around here. I went on a little meander this morning and gathered up some leaves, and I've decided I'm going to try to preserve these leaves and do some more jelly plate prints with maybe some other techniques other than the paint that I used that never really cured. So gonna see what happens, but today's plan, I need to soak them for, I think I'm probably gonna try it for about 5 days. So today's plan is to preserve the leaves, and I'll show you what I'm doing here. All right, so I have these containers that I use to store other things in. Like this one happens to have book pages and things like that. So I'm going to use these containers to mix my solution in and put the leaves in to soak. That's the plan. Hopefully there's no holes in these. And I know containers, like inexpensive containers, are not that expensive. But really the whole point here is I don't need more containers, and I'm hoping that these are going to work just fine. And you don't need any like specific container. You just need basically a container that holds some liquid. So hopefully these are going to work. And here are the rest of the supplies. Some vegetable glycerin and some clear plastic sheets. You could use glass, you could use anything. This is just going to be used to press the leaves down. And I'll try to remember to link where I saw this. There's a couple tutorials out there. I'll try to link that down below. So if you guys want to preserve your own leaves, you can. The glycerin to water ratio is 1 part glycerin, 2 parts water. So yeah, just gonna mix that up, and oh, let me show you the leaves I got. All right, I have some various different leaves here. This is American Beech. Then that is oak leaf. I think it's the white oak. I have to look it up now. I always forget. One of the oaks has these kind of more triangle kind of, oh no, wait, let me see, hang on. More rounded leaves. This is what I'm looking for. More of the rounded leaf. And then one of them has more pointed leaves like these. So 2 different oaks, and then dogwood, which is already starting to definitely change color here, sycamore, and pawpaw. And tulip pawpaw, I should say, or tulip poplar. And I decided to keep like some of these imperfect leaves, like this is a dogwood, And this is an oak, obviously has some holes in it. This oak leaf is totally like eaten away. I decided to also just hang on to those because they might make for interesting texture in these leaf prints eventually. All right, all the leaves are soaking, so I'm going to leave those for a couple days. I stuck the bottles of the vegetable glycerin and I just filled them with water and to act as weights on top of that like acrylic plastic piece to flatten everything down and weigh the leaves down and make sure they're completely submerged in the water. So I'll be picking you back up in probably about 4 days, 3 to 4 days. We'll see. Anyways, we'll see you then. Alright, I have all the leaves laying over there on the floor. I'm going to let them dry for several days. I'm not sure if they were ready to take out, but we're actually headed out of town on a trip, which I'm pretty sure by the time this comes out, you'll have seen that trip. And we're going completely off grid for like 4 days, I believe. And I wasn't sure if I left these in there for 4 days, if it would be too long to leave them in there. So I don't know, one big experiment here. Hopefully, fingers crossed, they work. And when I get back, I will do some hopefully jelly plate printing with them and more experimenting. And I will pick you back up for that. Probably still in this video. I have no idea where I'm at with this video. But it'll just be a few seconds for you. Morning all, back in the studio, back from our trip. And the leaves that I had laying out on the floor here are somewhat, I think, dry, if you will, from that glycerin soaking. So I've taken and I've covered the work surface with some towels and some just inexpensive newsprint paper. And I'm going to take and continue to blot them off just a bit to get any of the excess glycerin off of them. And yeah, I'll let you know how they turned out after I finish doing that. All right, I think that bath is actually going to work out pretty good. So the only leaves that are a little bit more crinkly are the oak leaves, and I can't remember if they were a little crinkly to begin with or not. So yeah, I think that glycerin is going to work out good. So again, I'm going to clear this space off again and set up the jelly plate and pick some papers out to jelly plate print on with these leaves and go from there. All right, I have no idea if this is going to work, but I have some watercolor paints because I know those work well with encaustic. I have some unsized paper that I've used in the past. I also have clear acrylic gesso. Yes, acrylic gesso. I have heard that that works with encaustic. Not 100% sure that it's going to, but I have heard that it does work. And what I'm going to do, I've also heard that it helps the watercolor kind of adhere to the Gelli plate. Again, no idea if any of this is going to work. I'm just going to experiment with it, but my thought process behind this is I want to get these prints down on some paper that I can then embed into encaustic without the paint running as I'm putting the encaustic medium over it, or encaustic paint. And we all know that watercolor is water reactive. Again, it's never really fully cured unless you use a spray fixative or something like that, which I don't want to do. So this experiment is going to kind of see if maybe the clear gesso that I'm putting down on the Gelli plate and then the watercolor, if that will actually make the watercolor more permanent when I embed these papers into encaustic painting. So sorry, that's my phone going off. So I don't know, hopefully this makes sense. We're gonna find out together. I'm probably just gonna get these prints done today, let them dry for a little while, and then come back and try to embed them. We'll see. The other thing that I wanted to try to experiment with in here is to try washing the leaves out, to seeing if then they will still retain kind of their elasticity, if you will. And that seemed to work pretty well. So we'll see how it keeps going forward in the future. But the goal here, I think, and it might now be too late in the year, but the goal, I think, for me anyways, was to collect a bunch of leaves, soak them in this glycerin bath, see if it works, and then continue to collect them, and then be able to work on these basically all winter long when there's no leaves on the trees. So I'm going to see how it works washing them off. And then the other thing I wanted to do last experiment today was to use the same watercolor, same paper, but do it like a leaf print with just watercolor. And you may have done this in elementary school, or if you have young kids, you may have done them with young kids. So basically it's a watercolor leaf printing. If you look it up online, you'll find it everywhere. And usually people do it with younger kids, but I thought I would try that as well. One, I'm going to not put any of the clear encaustic gesso on. The second one, I'm going to do clear encaustic gesso on and compare the two. And I may eventually maybe end up putting a coat of clear encaustic gesso on the watercolor one that doesn't have it on, if that makes any sense. But that's the last thing here in the studio today. That experiment is done. I'm gonna let these dry at least overnight, maybe even for a couple days, especially those watercolor leaf prints. The paper is soaking wet. Oh, and I didn't say, I also put down just some plain old mixed media paper, just so kind of to protect the work surface, because I knew that this thinner paper was gonna, like the water was gonna soak right on through it. So we'll see how these work. I'm not gonna touch them for a couple days, maybe tomorrow, I don't know, we'll see. But at any rate, I'm just doing all of this just to see what works. And I know all of this takes a lot of time. Hopefully you're finding it interesting and it's not too kind of tedious and boring, but the whole point here is to experiment, see what works, and then kind of proceed from there. And again, I don't even know if these are going to turn out. I have no idea if they're even going to turn out in a painting how I have kind of envisioning them. Time will tell, but yeah, all this is a process. And I just wanted to also encourage you to experiment yourself. You know, just try things out, see what works, even if it's a kid's arts and crafts. At any rate, I'm going to stop babbling and get some other stuff done today and pick you up in a few days probably. Morning all, a rainy, cold start-ish, kind of coldish, not super cold, to the day, and back in the studio. These have dried for I think about 2 days now, so I'm gonna uncover the watercolor leaf prints that I did and we'll see what we got. Fingers crossed they work out, we'll see. Keep lifting here. Yeah, not great, but not bad. Decent, I would say. Yeah, it's okay. No expert here, clearly. All right, and then coming over to this one, this is the gesso one with the watercolor. And, oh, this is sticking pretty good. I think it's because of the gesso, they stick a little bit more. Trying not to tear it. The leaf, really. Yeah, not bad. I think you can kind of see that print in here. Not too bad. Just okay. Oh, this leaf's really sticking now. All right, I'm going to put you down here and see if I can't use 2 hands to do this. All right, this one was just the plain watercolor, and it definitely feels dry. It's sticking to the mixed media paper just a bit, but it's definitely dry. So let's see. All right, the gessoed watercolor leaf print is pretty much glued down to the mixed media paper. That's okay. I'm still going to experiment with it just on the mixed media paper. The whole point of this was to see if the gesso perhaps made the watercolor a little bit waterproof. It's not going to be completely waterproof, but so basically today I want to experiment with some encaustic medium and these prints to see if any of that watercolor paint is going to come off onto the encaustic brush when I put the medium down, and just kind of see if it smears it around at all, kind of that type of thing. So I can still do that while it's completely adhered to the mixed media paper, but note to self, we need to find another solution other than mixed media paper to put this washi or this rice paper down on. All right, first thing I'm gonna do is just spritz some water in a corner on both of these. One is just the plain watercolor, one is with the watercolor gesso, that's the one stuck to the mixed media paper. And I'm just gonna spray the water and see if water reacts. I'm guessing it will definitely react to the one that doesn't have any gesso on, so let's see. All right, interesting enough, I feel like I definitely had to rub harder on the one with the gesso. So again, it's not waterproof, but it might be a little bit more water resistant. And up next, I'm gonna try the Gelli plate prints. Now, all of these had gesso put down on them, so I'm gonna see how that reacts with the water, and then I'll try the encaustic medium. All right, I think that gesso was a success. Now it does, if you've ever used clear gesso before, it has a tooth to it. So it's definitely a bit of a rougher surface, which is why I've heard you can use it with encaustic, because it has a tooth to it. So it gives something for the encaustic to stick to versus just a plastic acrylic type of paint. So that's interesting. It's definitely not running or anything like that, even along the edges of the leaf. I tried really spraying that to see if the watercolor would run at all. It doesn't rub off on the paper towel, so this could be a win. I want to try it with the encaustic medium to see if I like the toothiness of it, to see if it's going to give a painting a lot of texture if I use this kind of as a quote-unquote final layer and not put a lot of medium over it. So that's the next plan. All right, I'm going to flip the camera around and show you the setup real quickly. Unfortunately, my battery is dying, so hopefully I can get through some of this. The other problem is I'm very low on encaustic medium. I have Damar resin ordered, which is what I use to make the encaustic medium, that and beeswax. I have the beeswax here, but I don't have any Damar resin. So that's on order. It's supposed to get here shortly, but I wanted to try to get this done today because, again, I just have a short window of time here to try to get this done, and at least I'll know with this if this experiment has worked or not worked, and what has worked and what hasn't worked. So I'm hoping to have enough encaustic medium to see that, and enough camera battery for you all to see it as well. So let me flip the camera around. All right, I have 3 pieces of mixed media paper that I just am using the back side of the one that had the watercolor paper on it so as to not waste it. So I have 3 of those that I'm going to be embedding the just plain old watercolor leaf print. That was this piece. The gesso with watercolor on the Gelli plate. This is also gesso with watercolor on the Gelli plate. And then I have this watercolor and gesso leaf print that's stuck to the mixed media paper. So I'm just gonna use a portion of this probably up here somewhere for the encaustic medium. And then of course the heat gun, and this is all the encaustic medium I have. So we'll see if this is going to be enough or not. Wish me luck. See if I can get through this before the battery dies. Both of these were the Gelli plate prints with watercolor and gesso. This one I flipped upside down so that the gesso watercolor was on the underside of this, if that makes sense. No run whatsoever. There's a layer over top of encaustic medium on this side, none on this side, and I think you can see a bit of that paper texture showing through. Where I put the encaustic medium over, it's smooth. This, if you listen quietly, I think you can hear that, versus this is very smooth. This is again a layer of encaustic gesso over top of the print that's embedded into the wax. I think neither one of these ran. I think it's a good thing. The only thing is I think you definitely want to put a layer of encaustic medium over top of these. Otherwise you have a lot of texture. And if you go to buff it, you won't get that really pretty shine if you're looking for that. Panning over, plain old watercolor one, which didn't surprisingly run at all, but I'm not happy with how the print came out. And then watercolor and gesso stuck to the mixed media paper. Again, didn't run at all. This is the encaustic medium up here. So I think what I'd really like to do is experiment more with just plain watercolor prints and see if I can get those to work out, get better leaf prints on those. I don't know. We'll see. Stay tuned. Morning all. It is a kind of a rainy, dreary day out there. Boot kind of weather, rain boot kind of weather. But anyways, it has been several days since I've been in the studio. We actually went and got our booster shots, and that kind of unfortunately took me out for a couple days. So nothing, no major reaction, just my typical reaction, luckily, or unluckily, I don't know, depending on how you want to look at it. I'm fine. That's what I want to say. But it basically put me behind in here. So all that to say is I'm not going to get these 2 paintings done before the art show, and that's okay. I said when I started the video, I wasn't going to put pressure on myself to actually have to have them done. I have plenty of paintings to take with me. So I'm just gonna put them off to the side. I did get the Damar resin in, so that's good. So I'll be able to get that encaustic medium made. Again, I'm probably not gonna do that before the art show. And basically I picked up the camera to kind of end this video here. I'll flip it around and give you some shots of the studio and the final prints that I got done. I'm gonna basically clean up the studio as best as I can, just kind of get the leaves and stuff put away that are sitting on the floor back behind me still, and just kind of get a few things organized so that when we come back, I can hit the ground running on these 2 paintings, because I do want to still paint them. I just didn't want to put the pressure on to get them done before the art show. We're actually leaving in about 2 days time, so I have to finish packing up some art, getting the camper and everything all packed up and ready to go. Oh, and if you're in the Port Warwick, Newport News, Virginia Beach area, come see me. It's called the Port Warwick Art and Sculpture Festival. I'll try to remember to put all the information down there below in the description. I'd love to see you in person, even if you just want to come out and wander around. It's beautiful. They usually have food trucks and obviously various other artists there that are wonderful. So come out, say hi, and fingers crossed. I think the weather is supposed to be okay. So at any rate, hope to see you all there. If you did like this video, please give it a thumbs up. It truly does help me out. Also, if you have any questions, someone just want to say hi, leave that down below in the comments. I love it when you guys comment, even if it's just to say hi. So at any rate, consider subscribing if you're not subscribed, and stay tuned. I'm going to be finishing these paintings when we get back. Bye for now.